to license the
Meep, meep.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to Maple Leaf Matchbox Makeovers. I'm Andrew, and on the bench today is a Hot Wheels Lamborghini Countach LP500S, a poster of which adorned the bedroom wall of many a teenage boy in the 1980s. And why not? Look at it. Wedge shape, cab forward, scissor doors, super cool lines. What is there not to like? This has a couple of inherent problems with it. First one is that the casting lines are not all that deep, and I'm going to have to be careful about how much paint I put on it. And the other thing is these wheel wells are just too big, or the UH tires are too small, one or the other, but I've got an idea how to deal with that. First things first, goes into the bench vise, and I select the right size drill bit to drill out these rivets. This one's a 4mm, most of them are. And the metal base on this pops off quite nicely. And inside are the standard array of pieces. I always smile when I see one of these darkened windshields. This one is dark red. And under that is a two-seat cockpit that you're never going to see because of the darkened windows. But it's clean enough anyways. I'll give it a brush up. And here's a look at the metal base and the wheels. See how close they are to the body. They're not out far enough. They're not big enough. I think that kind of lets this particular casting down a little bit. We'll try to give attention to that. Spot of oil before the tapping tool goes in, and I carefully rethread this to take two new M2 screws at the end of the process when this has to go back together. And there's a little test fit so I don't have to fiddle with this after the paint job is done. And you can't quite tell there, but I shaved these posts down and made them a little bit shorter, and that's going to drop the car and close in those wheel wells a little bit. We'll see how that works out at reassembly time. And the needle nose pliers are put into play here just to straighten that spoiler. Looks like this little boy's dad stepped on that one in his bare feet in the middle of the night, let out a scream, and left a mark. Into the paint stripper. You'll notice that I've taped off the tires here. I'm not going to try to remove them. And so my technique here is to put the main body in with a full dunk. So that's saturated, that's immersed in the paint stripping gel, and set it aside. And the casting with the taped off wheels, I'm going to carefully brush on the gel so as not to touch the wheels, because I don't have any replacements for them, and I've got to refurb those and make the best out of the inventory I've got. And you're looking at the inventory in that little dish right now, so I don't want any damage to happen to those. And a good time later, I pull these out, and I can see that the paint has bubbled up nicely. So it's always a happy moment when that slides off as easily as it does. The body was a different situation, and the paint is loosened up. If I had more patience, I would have just left it in there, but I had finished a couple of other jobs and wanted to get back at this. So it'll have to go to the laundry room tub with a stiff bristle brush, but that's how it came out. Not a whole lot of residual paint left, but I do take out a sharp X-Acto knife and pick away at some of the lines. So that's cleaned right up by the time it goes to the paint booth. I did some bare metal work here, just not on camera, with my wire brush and the fine steel wool, just to take out any little imperfections in the body before painting. And after some gray primer, I decided to go for yellow on this Lambo. And I really wanted a vibrant color to contrast with the black base, because the running boards on this are made up of the base. So it's going to be, and it didn't come out the yellow that I wanted. I was disappointed. So back into the booth, and after consulting those and some other internet pics, I decided on orange. Not as common, but just as striking, and I was very pleased with how this came out. And I think you'll like it in the end. So as I said, I've got to reuse these wheels and give them a little black tire wash, and they look as good as new after a couple of moments. And the windshield wasn't bad, but at this juncture, why not take a little bit of time and give it a couple of light goings over with some increasingly finer wet dry sandpaper. And I end up with a 3000 here. So any little scratches are going to be insignificant or totally gone. What do you think? And then I had an idea, hey, somewhere in one of these cupboards, I've got some headlight polish. That's what I actually use on my car. Well, let's see how this works on the plastic. And just with the Q-tip, I start rubbing that lightly, and you can hear the squeaky clean noise in a few moments. It even repels the water the way it should. So that worked out well, and pieces are going to pop back together here with no trouble. And I hope you'll notice when this goes back together, a little lower profile, not a great deal, but enough that it made a difference to me, and those oversized wheel well openings are now slightly reduced, and I think it sits better. The stance is the same with the big fat tires on the back and a little smaller size on the front, but they just seem to fill the hole, and that's exactly what I was going for without being able to swap out the tires. Hold your breath with me now. This is the scary part, because whenever I get out that jet black enamel paint, there is no room for error. And if you make a little mistake, I take a toothpick and try to wipe it off instantly, but that's black on orange, and so I just take my time and go real slow. And I'm blacking out a couple of the vents and openings that I see in both the real-life pictures of the Countach as well as several Hot Wheels model pics that I've found on Google Images. And I guess you could do what you want here, but a couple of touches is all I was going for. That makes a nice contrast, though, don't you think? The dark black against the orange. Those are a couple of nervous moments. This is the finest brush. I've seen guys use Sharpies here, and I might try that in the future. I think that might be a little more accurate. And no, that's not a grain of rice. That's the final touch on this. Lambo's got to have a bull on the hood, and that tiny little decal is going to finish it off. Here I apply a little bit of clear decal set, and that helps when you're applying decals. It gives you a couple of moments more play time when you're trying to position these just right, and if the decal goes across a casting line, it'll help it conform to the contour of the body. But this is right smack in the middle of the hood in the front, and on it goes. It's so small. I had to squint. Is the bull right side up or upside down? And get the Q-tip wet so I can work with that a bit. And here's what I've learned. Get it set and leave it alone, because you want to keep playing with it and you're just going to mess it up. So here it is. That's the Lamborghini Countach LP500S. It was a nice model in real life, and it's a fine looking car in a 1/64 scale too. And I'm pleased with how the stance has been improved. It's lowered just a little bit. And I did some detail on the back with the lights and the decal, refurb wheels. Kept the original windshield for authenticity. And there's what we started with earlier today. And I must say I'm pleased with how it turned out. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll subscribe to my channel and give it a thumbs up and come back often. It's coffee time.